The gala sparkled like a dream I never wanted to wake from. Crystal chandeliers hung above a sea of elegant guests, their laughter filling the grand ballroom like champagne bubbles rising in expensive flutes. I stood near the dessert table, my heart hammering beneath my perfectly tailored suit that had cost me a month's salary. Tonight, I believed everything would change between Jian and me. Jian Luo, the powerful alpha who'd held my heart captive for 2 long years, had promised me something special tonight, something that would change everything between us forever. Tonight will be different, Renzai, he'd whispered that morning, his lips brushing my ear. I promise. I watched him move through the crowd with that commanding presence that made every room bow to him instinctively. His dark suit fit him perfectly, tailored to emphasize his broad shoulders and lean form. People gravitated toward him like planets orbiting the sun. When the microphone feedback suddenly silenced the chatter, my stomach flipped with nervous anticipation. This was it. This was our moment. Finally, after 2 years of secret meetings and hidden love. But then Jian's eyes found mine across the crowded room, and they were cold, distant, empty of the warmth I'd seen just hours ago when he kissed me goodbye. My breath caught painfully in my throat. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Some people, he announced smoothly into the microphone, his voice carrying effortlessly across the silent ballroom, don't understand their place in this world. They mistake temporary kindness for permanent belonging. They confuse compassion with commitment. His gaze pierced through me like shards of ice, each word a knife. That man there, he pointed directly at me with one elegant finger, and every head turned to follow, is nothing to me. He never was, he never will be. I want to make that absolutely clear to everyone here tonight. The room erupted in gasps and horrified whispers that grew louder with each passing second. My vision blurred with tears I couldn't control, couldn't stop from falling. Camera flashes exploded around me like tiny bombs, systematically detonating my entire world, my entire existence. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt crushed. Someone laughed, a cruel sound that cut through the shocked silence like a blade. Then another person joined in, and another, until nervous laughter rippled through sections of the crowd. The whispers grew louder, more vicious, more cutting. I stumbled backward, knocking into the dessert table behind me. A champagne glass shattered on the marble floor, the sound impossibly loud. Nobody helped me. They just stared, their phones raised high, recording every second of my complete humiliation for posterity. I fled toward the exit, my chest tight with shame and betrayal so intense it felt physical. As I pushed through the heavy doors into the cold night air, my tearful face was already reflecting in 100 phone screens, uploading my destruction to the world in real time, spreading like wildfire. Morning arrived with a nightmare I couldn't escape, no matter how tightly I closed my eyes or how deeply I buried my face in my pillow. My phone buzzed relentlessly on my nightstand, notifications flooding my screen faster than I could dismiss them, an endless stream of cruelty. I made the fatal mistake of looking. Rejected Omega trended nationwide, my face plastered across every social media platform imaginable. Strangers called me gold digger, manipulator, desperate Omega, social climber, whore. Every refresh brought fresh cruelty from people who'd never met me, never known my story, but felt entitled to judge my entire existence based on a 30-second video. The comments were vicious. He deserved it for aiming above his station. Omegas like him give us all a bad name. Imagine being so delusional. My supervisor called at 8:30 in the morning, her voice cold and professional in a way it had never been before. Renzai, we're letting you go effective immediately. The company can't afford this kind of negative attention. It's nothing personal. Security will escort you out within the hour. Or the line went dead before I could respond, before I could beg, before I could explain that I'd done nothing wrong. I sat on my apartment floor, surrounded by empty silence that pressed against my ears like water, like drowning. 3 days passed in a blur of tears and unanswered calls to friends who suddenly didn't know me. Jian never called, never texted, never acknowledged what he destroyed with a few calculated words spoken into a microphone. I stopped checking social media after reading that I should be ashamed to exist, that I should disappear. Stopped answering my phone after the death threats started coming from blocked numbers. Stopped hoping that this was all some terrible mistake he'd rush to fix, that he'd call and explain. On the fourth morning, someone knocked urgently on my door, 3 sharp raps. I opened it quickly, heart leaping with foolish hope that maybe it was Jian coming to explain. Nobody was there. Just Jian's assistant disappearing down the hallway like a ghost, her expensive heels clicking rapidly against the tile floor. On my doormat lay a sealed envelope, expensive cream-colored paper that felt heavy with shame in my hands. Inside, a check for 200,000 yuan and a typed note on corporate letterhead, compensation for inconvenience. Please accept this with our discretion. My hands trembled violently as I stared at the numbers, at the casual dismissal of everything we'd been. Inconvenience. He'd shattered my entire existence, destroyed my reputation, stolen my future, ruined my career, and reduced it all to a business transaction that could be solved with money. Money couldn't fix humiliation that had been broadcast to millions of people. Couldn't restore my dignity or erase those videos circulating endlessly online, being shared and reshared, commented on and laughed at by strangers. I tore the check into tiny pieces with shaking hands and threw them in the trash like confetti celebrating my destruction, watching them flutter down. That night, rain drummed against my windows like fingers tapping impatiently, waiting for something. Around midnight, heavy footsteps approached my door through the silent hallway, slow and deliberate. 3 sharp knocks echoed through my small apartment, each one making my heart jump painfully. I froze on the couch, waiting and hopping and dreading all at once, my breath caught in my throat. My heart pounded as I crept toward the peephole, my bare feet silent on the cold floor. Nothing, just empty hallway stretching in both directions under flickering lights. Silence that felt somehow threatening, ominous. When I finally gathered courage to open the door with trembling hands, the hallway stretched empty and dim under weak corridor lights that buzzed faintly. But something glinted on my doormat under the weak light, catching my attention. I bent down carefully, my breath catching in my throat as recognition hit me. Giant's platinum cufflink lay there innocently, the one I'd fixed for him countless times when the clasp broke, the one he wore to important meetings. The engraved initials JL mocked me in the darkness, catching the light and throwing it back. He'd been here, standing at my door, close enough to knock, close enough to see me if I'd opened the door faster. But why come if he wouldn't face me? What game was he playing with my already broken heart? I picked up the cufflink, its cold metal burning against my palm like ice that wouldn't melt, like accusation. Why couldn't he just let me disappear like he claimed he wanted? Why was he haunting me when he'd already destroyed everything I had, everything I was? Ming from accounting became my unexpected lifeline in the following weeks of isolation and despair. "You're talented, Ren Zai," Ming said over coffee at a quiet cafe far from my old workplace, sliding his laptop toward me with an encouraging smile that felt genuine. "These freelance design platforms need people like you desperately. Your skills are valuable regardless of what happened at that gala. Don't let one night define your entire career." His kindness felt foreign and suspicious after weeks of cruelty from strangers and deafening silence from friends who'd abandoned me without explanation. We met regularly after that first coffee, his encouragement slowly rebuilding my shattered confidence brick by careful brick. He made me laugh again for the first time in weeks, reminded me I existed beyond Giant's shadow, helped me remember who I'd been before that alpha consumed my entire world and identity. One evening, we planned to meet for dinner at a restaurant Ming loved, a small place with good food and privacy. I waited at our table for an hour, checking my phone obsessively every few minutes. Ming never showed. His phone went straight to voicemail every time I called, the automated message cold and impersonal. Panic crept through me like ice water in my veins, cold and paralyzing. The next morning, I found him at his desk, pale and trembling, refusing to meet my eyes when I approached with concern. "Ming, what happened? Are you okay?" I was worried sick. He wouldn't look at me directly, his hands shaking visibly. "I can't, Ren Zai, I'm so sorry, please don't ask me to explain. Can't, what, you're scaring me, what's going on? Be your friend, help you, any of it, I just can't anymore, please understand." His hands shook visibly as he showed me his phone with obvious reluctance, like he was afraid of what I'd see. A single text message glowed on Ming's screen, the words burning themselves into my memory forever. "Stay away from Ren Zai, this is your only warning. JL." My blood ran cold as I stared at those letters, at that signature I knew so well. Jian was watching me somehow, controlling who could approach me, who could help me, who could show me basic human kindness. Even after destroying me publicly, humiliating me before millions of people, he wouldn't let me go, wouldn't let me move forward, wouldn't let me heal or rebuild. Fury propelled me through Jian's office building the next day, rage giving me strength I didn't know I possessed. Security tried stopping me at the entrance, but I pushed past them with strength born of pure anger, riding the elevator to the top floor. His secretary's protests faded as I shoved open his office door without knocking, without announcing myself. Jian sat behind his massive mahogany desk, completely unsurprised by my dramatic entrance, as if he'd been expecting me. "Ren Zai." His voice was calm, controlled, infuriatingly composed. "Why?" I demanded, my voice shaking with fury and hurt. "Why threaten Ming? Why follow me? Why watch me? You made it crystal clear I'm nothing to you." He stood slowly, deliberately, his alpha presence filling the room and making it hard to breathe properly. "You don't understand the world I live in, Ren Zai. The dangers constantly surrounding me, surrounding anyone connected to me. Then let me go, set me free, stop controlling my life." "I can't do that." His jaw clenched, a muscle twitching beneath his skin. "You don't belong in my world, you never did, you never will, it's too dangerous." "Then why won't you leave me alone? Why won't you let me disappear? Why can't you just forget me?" He had no answer, just stared at me with those dark eyes that once held warmth and promises. I turned to leave, my chest heaving with unspent anger and unshed tears that burned behind my eyes. Behind me, something crashed violently against the wall. I glanced back to see Jian's fist against the expensive paneling, leaving a visible dent. His shoulders were rigid with tension, his breathing heavy. "Then why can't I let you go?" He whispered so quietly I almost missed it, voice breaking. But I heard every word, and that terrified me more than anything else he'd done. Darkness followed me everywhere after that confrontation. Literally followed me like a shadow with headlights and an engine. Every evening walking home from job interviews or freelance meetings, headlights tracked my movements from half a block behind, constant and unwavering. The same black sedan, Windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside, engine purring like a predator stalking prey through city streets. I'd stop suddenly and it would stop. I'd turn corners and it would follow smoothly. I walk faster and it maintained the exact same distance like we were connected by invisible string. One night I'd had enough of this psychological torture that was driving me slowly insane. I spun around, marching toward the car with my fists clenched, ready to confront whoever was inside. But it accelerated suddenly, disappearing around the corner before I reached it, tires squealing slightly. My phone buzzed immediately in my pocket, the timing too perfect to be coincidence. Unknown number. Don't walk alone after dark, it's not safe. My hands shook as I looked around the empty street, searching shadows for watching eyes. Where was he watching from? How long had this been happening? How did he always know where I was? I started varying my routes carefully, leaving at different times, taking buses instead of walking, asking acquaintances for rides when I could. Nothing worked. The car always found me somehow, always waiting somewhere along my route. The messages continued steadily, arriving at random times. Lock your door tonight. That alley isn't safe. Go home now. He was everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Protecting me or tormenting me, I couldn't tell anymore which one he intended. The line between care and obsession had blurred beyond recognition, and I was trapped in the middle, unable to escape his invisible grip. My new job lasted exactly 2 weeks before everything collapsed again around me. Chen Design Studio had hired me quietly, promising discretion and a fresh start away from the scandal. I'd finally felt hopeful again, like maybe I could rebuild my shattered career. Then the email arrived to my boss's inbox on a Tuesday morning, CC'd to me deliberately so I'd know exactly what was happening. Fire Renzai immediately, or Chen Design Studio will face complete corporate destruction. Consider this your only warning. We don't make empty threats. My boss called me into his office, apologetic but absolutely firm, his face regretful but resolved. I can't risk my entire company, Renzai. I have 50 employees depending on me for their livelihoods. I'm sorry, but you have to understand my position. Research led me down a rabbit hole I desperately wished I'd never explored. Jian's father's corporation was Chen Design's largest client, controlling 60% of their annual revenue. One word from the Luo family could bankrupt them overnight, destroy everything they'd built. Jian had orchestrated this destruction, again, deliberately sabotaging any chance I had at independence or escape. I confronted the empty air of my apartment, knowing somehow he'd hear me through whatever surveillance he'd installed. "What do you want from me?" I screamed at the walls, my voice breaking. "You've taken everything, my reputation, my jobs, my friends, my future. What's left to destroy? What more could you possibly take?" Silence answered, heavy and oppressive, pressing down on me. That night another message arrived on my phone, the words appearing on my screen. "I'm keeping you safe. One day you'll understand why this is necessary, trust me." Safe from what? The only person actively destroying my life was him. Safe from what danger when he was the danger? Desperation drove me back to my old neighborhood, a cramped studio apartment in a building that smelled like mildew and decades of accumulated regret. The paint peeled from the walls in strips. I couldn't afford anything better now after losing 2 jobs in rapid succession, my savings depleted. I was unpacking boxes when someone knocked firmly on my door. I opened it to find Jian standing there. Jian stood in my doorway looking somehow both completely out of place and exactly where he belonged. His expensive suit contrasted sharply with the peeling paint and stained carpet behind him. "How did you find me?" "I didn't tell anyone this address, I was careful. I've always known where you are, Renzai, always, every moment of every day." His eyes scanned my tiny apartment with obvious distaste and concern. "This isn't safe, this neighborhood is dangerous, the crime rate here, it's all I can afford since you systematically destroyed my career, my reputation, my entire life." "That's not," he stepped inside without invitation, closing the door behind him. "I'm protecting you from things you don't understand, things you can't see." "From what? Tell me, explain it to me." "From people who'd use you against me." His composure cracked like ice breaking under pressure. "My father, his business associates, they know you're my weakness. They'd hurt you just to control me, to manipulate me. You rejected me publicly, you called me nothing in front of hundreds of people. To save you from them." He grabbed my wrist suddenly, pulling me close with desperate strength. Heat radiated between us, familiar and dangerous and intoxicating. "Don't make me lose control," he whispered against my ear, his breath hot on my skin. Then he released me abruptly, backing toward the door like I'd burned him, like touching me hurt. But he froze completely, staring at something outside the window with wide eyes. I followed his gaze to see a woman standing on the street below, phone raised high, photographing us through my window with obvious intent. His fiancée. The headlines exploded worse than before, somehow even more vicious and widespread. Luo heirs secret Omega scandal. Jian Luo's hidden relationship threatens engagement. Alpha's forbidden love exposed in shocking photos. I watched the news cycle devour both of us with vicious enthusiasm, reporters speculating endlessly. Jian's engagement hung by a thread. His father released a strongly worded statement condemning inappropriate relationships that damage family reputation and business interests. The Luo family has standards. Then Jian appeared at a hastily arranged press conference, his face emotionless and cold as marble. I want to clarify the recent photographs circulating online and causing such concern, he began, voice steady and cold as winter. Renzai was someone I knew briefly 2 years ago, a casual acquaintance, nothing more. He's attempted to insert himself into my life repeatedly despite clear rejection and multiple warnings to cease contact. These accusations and photographs are his desperate attempt for relevance and financial gain. I'm considering legal action for harassment. My heart shattered anew, the pieces grinding to dust under the weight of his words. He'd blamed me again, protected himself at my expense, made me the villain in our story when I'd done nothing but love him. I couldn't watch anymore, couldn't breathe through the betrayal crushing my chest like physical weight. That evening, breaking news interrupted regular programming with urgent music and red banners. A car explosion outside Giant's office building. Flames consumed a black sedan, the exact one that had followed me for weeks, that I'd seen so many times. One casualty confirmed, the reporter announced gravely, her face serious. Luo Jian was inside the vehicle when it detonated. Emergency services are on scene. The room spun violently around me. My vision darkened at the edges, narrowing to a tunnel. Then nothing but blackness swallowed me whole, complete and total. White ceiling tiles came into focus slowly, gradually resolving from blurry shapes. Hospital, antiseptic smell burning my nostrils. Beeping machines creating rhythm. How did I get here? A nurse appeared, checking my vitals with practiced efficiency, her movements quick and professional. You fainted on the street. Someone called an ambulance. You're okay now, just dehydrated and stressed. You need to take better care of yourself, especially in your condition. Jian Luo, I croaked, my throat dry and painful. The news said, he's alive, critical condition but stable. Down the hall, actually room 304, third door on the left. I shouldn't have cared after everything he'd done to me. After the public humiliations, the job sabotage, the manipulation, the lies, I should have left that hospital and never looked back, walked away forever. But my legs carried me to his room like they had their own will, like my body betrayed my mind. Through the window, I saw him wrapped in bandages, machines beeping steadily beside him, tubes and wires everywhere. A police officer stood nearby, taking notes in a small pad. The bomb was meant for someone else, the officer explained when he noticed me standing there. Mr. Luo saw the device attached to the car in the parking garage. He drove it away from the building before it detonated. Saved 17 people who were inside at the time. He's a hero. My throat tightened painfully. I pushed into the room quietly, my footsteps soft on the linoleum. Jian's eyes were closed, his breathing shallow but steady, chest rising and falling. I reached for his hand hesitantly, and his fingers suddenly closed around my wrist with surprising strength for someone unconscious. Renzai, he murmured, still completely unconscious, machines continuing their steady rhythm. My name like a prayer, like a confession, like the truth he couldn't speak while awake. She appeared the next morning while I kept vigil beside his bed, having not slept all night. Jian's fiancée, elegant and composed in designer clothes that probably cost more than my rent, studied me with curiosity rather than the hatred I expected. You're Renzai. It wasn't a question but a statement of fact, her voice cultured. I should go, I'm sorry for intruding on your time. No, stay please, we should talk, I think it's past time we had this conversation. She sat across from me gracefully, smoothing her expensive designer dress with manicured hands. Jian ended our engagement 3 months ago, right after that gala where he rejected you so publicly and cruelly. I stared at her in confusion, my mind struggling to process. What but the news, the engagement announcement last month, theater, his father's punishment for defiance. Jian agreed to our marriage initially for business purposes, a merger of families. But after the gala, he called it off completely. Said he couldn't marry me while his heart belonged elsewhere, said it wouldn't be fair to either of us. The room tilted sickeningly. But the news, the scandal about jeopardizing the engagement, all staged by his father, elaborate manipulation. Jian knew humiliating you publicly would make his family believe you meant nothing to him, that you'd be safe from their retaliation and schemes. He sacrificed both your reputations to protect you from schemes you couldn't possibly imagine. His father is ruthless. My voice broke completely. He let me hate him, let me think he was cruel and heartless. He thought it was better than watching them destroy you slowly, piece by piece. His father is ruthless, Renzai, absolutely ruthless. He's destroyed people for far less than threatening his control over Jian. She stood elegantly, gathering her expensive purse. That bomb. It was meant for you, Renzai. Jian found out about the plan and made himself the target instead. He drove that car away from you, away from anywhere you might have been. He was protecting you even then. 2 weeks later, Jian texted me from a new number I didn't recognize. Dinner, as friends, please, I need to see you, to explain. I should have refused immediately, should have blocked the number and moved on. But curiosity and something deeper I wouldn't name drew me to the quiet restaurant he'd chosen, a small place away from cameras. He looked thinner, still healing, dark circles under his eyes like bruises, but those eyes held the same intensity that had always undone me completely. How are you managing? He asked carefully, his voice tentative. Surviving, barely. You. The same, every day is a challenge. Awkward silence stretched between us like an ocean, vast and impossible to cross. Then he leaned forward across the table, his gaze burning into mine with intensity. You're still afraid of me, aren't you? I can see it in your eyes. I'm afraid of what you make me feel, of losing myself again in you. His hand covered mine on the table, warm and solid and familiar. You still react to me, Renzai. Your pulse just jumped. I can feel it racing. Jian, don't do this. The door burst open violently, slamming against the wall. Cameras flashed like lightning, blinding and disorienting. Reporters swarmed our table, shouting questions over each other in a cacophony. Mr. Luo, are you reconciling with your secret Omega? Renzai, what's your response to the engagement controversy? Is this proof of the affair? Jian stood quickly, shielding me with his body, pushing reporters back. But the damage was already done, photos already uploading to every platform. As we fled through the kitchen exit into a dark alley, rain beginning to fall, I realized this cycle would never end. His world would keep destroying us repeatedly, no matter how hard he tried to protect me from it. We were trapped. The scandal consumed everything like wildfire spreading through dry brush. Luo Corporation's stock plummeted dramatically. Board members demanded Jian's immediate resignation in emergency meetings. His father's rage became public when leaked recordings surfaced on every news channel, played on repeat. You're choosing some worthless Omega over your family legacy, over everything I built for you, his father's voice thundered, full of contempt. He's not worthless, he's worth more than your empire, more than all of this. Then you're the fool, pack your things immediately, you're no longer my son, you're nothing to me. I watched the news footage of Jian walking out of the Luo estate, his face bruised and bloodied, his lips split. His father had beaten him, the most powerful alpha in the city, reduced to this because of me, because he wouldn't abandon me even when it cost him everything he'd ever known. My phone rang shrilly, breaking the silence. Jian's assistant, her voice urgent and worried. He won't admit it, but he has nowhere to go. His accounts are frozen. His father's erased him from everything, credit cards, properties, trust funds, everything. Why are you telling me this? 'Cause you're the only person he'd accept help from, and the only one he'd never ask. He's too proud to beg. The line disconnected abruptly. Rain began falling outside my window, heavy drops against glass creating rhythm. Hours later, through the storm, someone knocked weakly on my door. Jian stood soaking wet, swaying slightly on his feet. Drunk, beat, exhausted, broken in ways I'd never seen. I had nowhere else, his voice cracked with emotion and exhaustion. I shouldn't have come here. I'm sorry. He turned to leave, stumbling slightly on unsteady feet, but I grabbed his arm, stopping him. Get inside now, you'll catch pneumonia. I shouldn't have let him in, shouldn't have cared after everything. But seeing him destroyed unmade something fundamental in me, something I'd tried to protect. I helped him to the bathroom, found clean clothes that hung loose on his frame. Made tea he didn't drink, just stared at blankly. We sat in heavy silence until he finally spoke. I ruined everything, your life, mine, all of it. Everything I touch turns to ash and destruction. You were trying to protect me in the only way you knew how. I failed spectacularly, made everything worse. You'd have been better off if we'd never met. His eyes met mine, vulnerable in ways I'd never seen before. I've loved you since the moment we met, Renzai. Everything I did, every cruel word, every manipulation, it was supposed to keep you safe from my world. Instead, I destroyed us both completely. Jian, he kissed me suddenly. Desperate, searching, begging for forgiveness through touch instead of words he couldn't find. And God help me, I kissed him back. All the anger, pain, longing, and love poured between us like a dam breaking, releasing everything. When we finally broke apart, breathless and shaking, he pressed his forehead to mine. I don't deserve you, I know that. No, I whispered honestly. You don't. Morning light woke me alone in bed. The pillow beside me was cold, his warmth gone like he'd never been there. On the nightstand, a note in Jian's careful handwriting. Don't forgive me yet. I need to deserve it first. I need to become someone worthy of you. The apartment felt emptier than before he'd arrived. Days passed with no word from him. His phone was disconnected. His assistant wouldn't return my increasingly desperate calls. Jian Luo had vanished completely, leaving behind his wealth, his name, his entire existence. I tried resuming my life, but everything reminded me of him constantly. The cufflink still sat on my dresser. His scent lingered on my spare pillow. 3 months crawled by slowly, painfully. I focused on design work, rebuilding from nothing yet again. A small commission became 2, then 5. My portfolio grew steadily. An international brand noticed my work online, requesting a meeting. Life moved forward despite the giant-shaped hole in my chest that wouldn't heal. Then came the invitation to showcase designs at Shanghai Fashion Week, my first major opportunity. The night of my debut show, I stood backstage, heart pounding with nerves and excitement. The curtain rose smoothly. Models glided down the runway. In my designs, wearing my dreams, and there in the back row of the audience, partially hidden in shadow, I saw him, Jian, watching me with pride that made my chest ache unbearably. Seeing him should have made me happy. Instead, confusion flooded through me like cold water. He'd left without explanation, disappeared when I needed answers most. Now he watched from shadows like he had any right to witness this. After the show, I searched the crowd frantically, pushing through people. He'd vanished again like smoke, like he'd never been there. An investor approached me, all smiles and expensive cologne. Renzai, your talent is extraordinary. I'd like to discuss a serious partnership that could change your career. Wei Chen owned 3 fashion houses across Asia. His offer could launch my career into the stratosphere I'd always dreamed of reaching. We met for coffee, then dinner, then regular consultations about my future and potential. He was charming, attentive, everything Jayan wasn't, stable, present. There's one condition, Wei said during our fourth meeting, his expression serious and businesslike. Jayan Luo, whatever connection you have with him ends permanently, completely, no contact. That's personal. Business and personal are inseparable in this industry. He's toxic for your image and my investment. His scandal will taint everything you touch. Choose your career or choose him, you can't have both. I wanted to refuse immediately, but what future did Jayan and I have? He'd left me, made that choice himself. I need time to think about this carefully. Of course, take the week, but I need an answer soon. But Jayan had been listening somehow. When Wei left the cafe, Jayan emerged from the street corner, his eyes dark with fury and possessiveness. Stay away from Wei Chen, he's dangerous. Jayan's voice was low and dangerous. You don't get to control my life anymore, you gave up that right when you left. He's using you, that investment offer is fake, designed to control you. You don't know that, you don't know anything about my life now. I know men like him, he wants to possess you, not help you, he wants to own you. I laughed bitterly. And you're different how? You possessed me, controlled me, destroyed me, manipulated everything. Something snapped in Jayan's expression. He grabbed my arm roughly, dragging me away from the public sidewalk. Wei appeared suddenly, positioning himself between us protectively, his expression angry. Let him go, Luo, now. This doesn't concern you, Chen, walk away. Everything concerning Renzai concerns me now. He's my investment, my responsibility. Jayan's fist connected with Wei's jaw before I could react or scream for them to stop. They crashed into a parked car, grappling violently, throwing punches. People screamed. I tried pulling them apart desperately, but Jayan's alpha rage made him unstoppable, dangerous. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Officers separated them roughly, pinning Jayan against the car with force. Blood dripped from his split knuckles onto the pavement, dark stains spreading. You're under arrest for assault, an officer announced, cuffing him roughly. Jayan didn't resist. His eyes found mine, wild and desperate and pleading. It was never hate, Renzai, never. I was protecting you from everyone, including myself. I love you. They pushed him into the patrol car. I stood frozen, watching him disappear again. The detention center smelled like disinfectant and desperation and broken dreams. I signed in, waited an hour in uncomfortable chairs, then faced Jayan through reinforced glass. He looked terrible, exhausted, defeated, completely broken. You shouldn't have come here, you should forget me. Why did you attack Wei? Because he's like all the others, they see your talent, your beauty, and want to own you like property, to control and possess you. He pressed his palm against the glass desperately, his hand shaking. The gala rejection, the stalking, threatening your friends, sabotaging your jobs, everything was meant to protect you from dangers you couldn't see. From what? My voice broke. From my father's schemes. He wanted to use you against me, force me into marriage, into business deals that would benefit him. If the world believed you meant nothing, you'd be safe from his manipulations. He wouldn't target you. Tears blurred my vision. You let me think you were cruel and heartless when you were trying to save me. Better cruel than dead. My father doesn't tolerate weaknesses. You were my greatest weakness, Renzai. He would have destroyed you slowly just to control me, just to remind me who had the power. The bomb was meant for you, father's final warning. I drove that car away from you, away from everyone you might have been near. I'd do it again without hesitation. His voice cracked completely. It was never hate, it was protection, twisted wrong, obsessive protection, but I loved you through all of it, every moment. The trial became a media circus that dominated headlines for weeks. Charges included assault, corporate sabotage, and stalking. Jayan's expensive lawyers fought hard, presenting evidence and testimony, but evidence mounted against him steadily. I sat in the gallery every single day watching prosecutors paint him as a violent, controlling alpha who needed to be locked away from society. When they called me to testify, the courtroom held its collective breath, every eye fixed on me. Mr. Ren, did Jayan Luo stalk you? The prosecutor asked, his voice sharp and accusatory. Yes. Did he threaten people who tried to help you? Yes. Did he sabotage your employment opportunities repeatedly and deliberately? I looked at Jayan. He nodded slightly, telling me to speak truth, to not lie for him. Yes, but he did it because, yes or no answers only please, Mr. Ren. The defense attorney asked different questions during cross-examination. Did Jayan Luo ever physically harm you in any way? No, never once. Did you ever feel his actions came from a desire to protect rather than control? Yes, always. Everything he did was to protect me. The jury deliberated for 6 long hours. Guilty on all charges, the judge showed no mercy in sentencing. 5 years in prison. Jayan's expression never changed. As they led him away in chains, his eyes held mine across the crowded courtroom. No regret, only love, pure, unwavering love. I couldn't breathe through the grief crushing my chest like a physical weight. 5 years, an eternity. The letter arrived 3 weeks later in plain prison stationery. Jayan's careful handwriting covered the page. Renzai, if you're reading this, I've failed to protect you one final time by letting you care about me. These 5 years are my penance, not for the crimes they convicted me of, but for every moment I made you suffer. For humiliating you publicly when I should have claimed you proudly before the world. For controlling your life when I should have supported your freedom. For loving you so obsessively that I destroyed everything beautiful between us. You deserve better than my twisted protection. You deserved an alpha who could stand beside you in the light, not manipulate you from shadows. You deserve someone who made you feel safe, not afraid. If you ever find peace, don't look for me when I'm released. Build your life, find someone who loves you properly, who treats you right. Forget me. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging for your happiness. That's all I want now. Always yours, Jayan. I read it 17 times, memorizing every word, every pen stroke. Then I held the paper to my stove's flame, watching it curl and blacken, watching his words disappear. As the last corner disintegrated into ash, something inside me shattered completely. I collapsed against my kitchen floor, sobbing for everything we'd lost, for the love that destroyed us both. 2 years passed like underwater breathing, slow, suffocating but steady and relentless. My fashion brand, Renex Designs, dominated Asian markets. Magazine covers featured my work. International shows requested my presence. Collaborations with luxury houses followed. I'd achieved everything I dreamed of since childhood. Success tasted hollow without someone to share it with. Every accomplishment felt incomplete without someone to celebrate with me, to understand what it meant. I dated occasionally. Nice men who treated me well, made me laugh, took me to expensive restaurants and art galleries. But none made my heart race like Jayan's memory still did after all this time. I hated that. Hated that after everything, he still owned pieces of me. Then the news broke suddenly one ordinary Tuesday. Jayan Luo granted early release for good behavior, former corporate heir to be freed next month. My phone exploded with messages. Friends asking if I was okay, reporters requesting comments and interviews. I ignored them all. 3 years instead of 5, he'd be free again, walking the same streets, breathing the same air, existing in the same world. I told myself I didn't care, that I'd moved on, but my hands shook as I designed late into the night, unable to sleep properly, wondering if he'd kept his promise, wondering if he'd forgot me, wondering why I couldn't forget him no matter how hard I tried. The charity gala invitation felt like fate's cruel joke. Same venue where everything began, same glittering crowd, same crystal chandeliers mocking my memories with their sparkle. I almost declined the invitation. But Renex Designs was the featured brand. I couldn't hide from my own success, my own achievement. I arrived fashionably late, guards flanking me on both sides. Success had taught me armor, taught me to protect myself. The room hummed with conversation until someone gasped loudly. Silence rippled through the crowd like stones through water, spreading outward. I turned slowly. Jayan stood at the entrance, older and harder, wearing a simple black suit that made him look dangerous and beautiful. Prison had changed him, made him leaner, sharper, more intense. Our eyes met across the room. The same distance as that horrible night 3 years ago, but everything had changed. We'd both changed. He walked toward me slowly, deliberately, every eye following his progress. People whispered urgently, cameras raised and recording. This time he lowered his head as he approached, submissive, respectful, everything he hadn't been before. Renzai, my name sounded like redemption on his lips, like prayer. Giant, you're stunning, your success. I followed every achievement from inside, every magazine cover, every show. I'm so proud of you. What are you doing here? He glanced at the stage, at the microphone waiting there. Something I should have done the first time. This time I want them to see who I truly belong to. My heart stopped beating. Jayan don't, but he was already walking toward the stage with purpose and determination. Jayan took the microphone in steady hands and the ballroom fell completely silent. Every phone pointed at him, recording his next public moment for posterity. 3 years ago I stood on a stage like this, he began, voice steady despite his shaking hands. I humiliated someone I loved more than my own life. I called him nothing before hundreds of people. I rejected him publicly to protect him from my family's cruelty. But I was the cruelest one. I was the one who hurt him most. He found me in the crowd, his eyes locking on mine. Renzai, you were never nothing, you were everything. My first thought in the morning, my last prayer at night, every breath I took was for you. I destroyed us because I was a coward who couldn't stand against my family, who chose reputation over truth, safety over love. Tears streaked his face openly, running down his cheeks. I've spent 3 years becoming someone worthy of your forgiveness, not expecting it, not demanding it, just learning to be the man you deserved from the beginning. I sabotaged your life to save it. I controlled you because I couldn't control my fear of losing you to forces beyond my power. I loved you obsessively, dangerously, wrongly. The crowd was mesmerized, completely silent, hanging on every word. I don't expect anything from you, Renzai, but I needed to say publicly what I should have said then. You're brilliant, talented, irreplaceable, and I love you. I've always loved you. I never stopped. Every eye turned to me, waiting, judging, recording this moment. The weight of 1,000 stares pressed against me like physical force. I could walk away, should walk away. Let him stand there, exposed the way he'd left me years ago. But that would make me like him, like the cruel version of him that had destroyed us both. I moved through the crowd slowly. People parted automatically, creating a path to the stage. Jayan watched me approach, hope and terror warring visibly in his expression. I climbed the steps carefully, stood before him on the stage. He'd stripped himself bare before these people, exposed every wound, every mistake, every regret. The least I could do was speak my truth too. You broke me, I said simply into the microphone, my voice carrying. You humiliated me, controlled me, manipulated my entire life. You were toxic and possessive and wrong in so many ways. He nodded, accepting each accusation without defense or excuse. But you also loved me the only way you knew how. You took a bomb meant for me, sacrificed everything to keep me safe, your family, your fortune, your future. You were protecting me even when it destroyed us both. I reached for his hand. He flinched like he didn't deserve the touch, like he didn't deserve gentleness. If you're still mine, I said clearly, then prove it by never hiding me again. No more shadows, no more lies, no more twisted protection, no more secrets. Something broke in his expression completely. He dropped to his knees before me, the exact position I'd been in when he rejected me all those years ago. The crowd gasped collectively. "I'll spend my life proving it," he whispered, voice breaking. Jian looked up at me from his knees, all alpha pride abandoned completely and utterly. The cameras flashed endlessly, capturing this moment for the world to witness and judge forever. He was choosing me publicly, claiming me before everyone who'd witnessed my humiliation years ago. "Stand up," I said softly, extending my hand to him. He obeyed slowly, uncertainty flickering in those dark eyes I'd once loved so desperately. I could still walk away. Could let this moment pass and leave him standing there alone and broken. But I'd learned something during his absence, during those long nights building my empire from ruins. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing someone despite their failures, about building something better from the ruins they'd left behind. I pulled him close and kissed him. The ballroom erupted. Gasps, applause, camera flashes exploding like fireworks around us, capturing everything. Jian kissed me back desperately, his hands trembling as they framed my face like I was something precious he'd thought he'd lost forever. When we finally broke apart, both breathless and shaking, he pressed his forehead to mine. "I don't deserve this, don't deserve you." "No," I agreed honestly, "but you're going to spend a lifetime earning it." He laughed through tears. "A lifetime sounds perfect to me." The world watched as the Omega he'd rejected became the love he proudly claimed. No more hiding, no more shame. Just us finally standing together in the light. "You were always mine," Jian whispered against my lips. "I just had to learn to deserve you." And somehow, impossibly, that felt like the beginning we should have had all along.